finishing up where we left off with Detective Thompson?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could resume the stand, and I'll simply remind you we're still under oath this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, I think we finished up right at noon with taking a look at State's Exhibit number 1, which was the video of the walk-up to the 1806 residence. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's the Wayne and Judy residence at the top of the hill.
Yes.
Exhibit 2 is marked for identification.
Let me hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 2. You recognize it?
I do.
Having asked the clerk to mark that exhibit and ask you if you recognize it, I just realized that there's a better exhibit. It has the individual slides per page. So I'm going to, with some apology, ask Madam Clerk if perhaps we could substitute this different exhibit 2 for that. It's the same images, just for the record.
All right, and any quarrel with that, counsel?
No.
Okay, and we'll make the substitution. Thank you.
We'll take that back.
Exhibit 2 is remarked for identification.
It was the arched eyebrow from Ms. Morales, including the okay. Okay, let's try that again. Andrew, it's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 2. I'll ask if you can identify that.
I can.
And what is State's Exhibit number 2?
This is a series of photographs and diagrams of the 1806 house on the Carnation property, the upper house.
And similar to some of the images we saw in the video,
Yes.
additional materials in there as well with respect to maps and other photographs.
Yes.
Are those materials that I've handed you, are they fair and accurate representations of how you recall the property looking in the days and weeks that followed December 26, 2007?
Yes, they are.
And the state would offer what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 2.
Any objection to
Do you
counsel?
have another copy?
Sure.
Or is it the same?
Oh, it's the same, I'm sorry. I say it's just a bigger.
All right. No objection.
All right, two's admitted.
Thank you. I believe we have a large student sitting in the corner who's about to turn off the lights.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Well done. This we're looking for the purpose of the record. This is Exhibit 2. The first slide says route to 1806 house. And if we could see the next slide, slide A. If you could, Detective Tompkins, tell the jury what it is we're looking at in slide A.
This is a diagram that was prepared for this case, and it shows the overall property going down to 346th Avenue.
Do you have that pointer still, that laser thing? You can show the jurors then where the main street, Northeast 16th, is on this.
I don't want to laser your co-counsel there. This is where the asphalt is, and then this would be the turnoff that leads to the Wilson property, the gate, and then the defendant's home and the Anderson home. As I described earlier, right around here is kind of where we parked our cars initially. Later, this area right here became our command post.
Oh, did you turn it off? I thought you were continuing. Can you orient us as to which direction is north on this drawing?
It's generally going to be in this direction here.
And where was the perimeter set up with respect to police tape and things like that, not allowing people to enter the property?
There was I'm not sure if there was tape, but there was a police presence here keeping people out. And as you recall from the video, they had put police tape around the upper house to kind of warn off people that it was a crime scene.
And if you recall from the opening scenes of the video, we saw those two individuals walking in front of the person who was holding the camera. Just about where on State's Exhibit 2, Slide A, was that image taken from?
The video?
Yes.
It starts about right here, and then it continues all the way up. It paused, as you recall, right here. This was on this side was the sign for the address, and the other side was a no trespassing sign. And then you go up the hill to the upper property.
You could just maybe circle with the laser on the upper property where we saw a lot of those vehicles that were up there.
I think they're marked here on the diagram here. There's an old camper and things over here.
And how about the garage or Wayne's shop?
The shop is right there. There's some additional vehicles parked there.
the main house,
right here.
and the storage shed in the back behind the main house.
I'm a ways away from it, but I believe it's right there.
If we could take a look at slide B. It may be, I apologize, Your Honor, it's a little difficult to see without the light. Joe, would you mind? There we go. Thank you. If you describe for the jury what it is we're looking at in slide B of Exhibit 2.
Side B, we're on the main road. This is the asphalt. These are the mailboxes. There's 1806. This is the gravel road that leads to the line of vehicles, police vehicles. The Wilson's property is through these trees. And as you continue down the road, you'll find the gate.
Is your car visible in this photograph? Do you know?
It may be. It's probably going to be one of these cars right in there.
And is the gravel road that we're looking at, is that 346th Avenue Northeast?
I believe it's, isn't it addressed off the main road here?
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. If we could see slide C. And then if you could tell us what it is we're looking at here.
You're looking somewhat in a northerly direction. The far end of this photo is where the gate is. This is the line of detective cars that's begin to fill up as they arrive.
And where would you have been parked?
I think I'm right in here somewhere.
And how about Sergeant Toner? You recall where his vehicle was parked?
His vehicle was parked north of mine. He had at the time a Ford F-250 pickup, and it would be somewhere up in here.
Can I ask you if I haven't, what kind of a car were you driving?
A Chevy Impala,
Okay, marked or unmarked?
unmarked.
Any kind of light bar on top or any of the other kind of police things that go on those cars?
No, it probably had lights in it and a police radio, but no markings.
You say lights in it, what do you mean?
Like hidden lights within the grill, and then like kind of a Kojak light you can flip down to if you need to run a code.
And for those who are of an age, a Kojak light is
I know
what?
I was going to explain that. We have a light that you can put on your visor, and you just, when you need emergency lights, you just flip your visor down, and you're ready to go.
If we could see the next slide, slide D. So tell us here what we're looking at with respect to this drawing.
This is a more up-close diagram of the Wilson property. They're kind of their loop driveway that they have, and the gate.
Where would your car have been parked?
If you continue this off, I've been over here somewhere.
And the main access road then is also to the right as well?
The asphalt road?
Yeah, I'm sorry, access road. Or the main road, I should say.
Yes.
You said at some point a command vehicle was brought in?
Yes.
Where was that parked?
It's parked in the grass right here.
If we can see the next slide, slide E. So to orient us here, what are we looking at?
This is an overhead shot of the Wilson property. You can see the driveway, the patrol cars lined up, and the gate for orientation, I think it's going to be right in here.
That's the gate leading up to the defendant's residence and the main residence?
And the Anderson property, yes.
So where's the entrance for the road from the main road?
It's going to be, if you extend this out back up here.
And again, just for orientation, just about approximately where was your car parked?
If you continue this road out, I'm somewhere right in here.
How about Sergeant Toner's vehicle?
You might be looking at the front of it right there.
And let me ask you, what was Sergeant Toner driving?
Ford pickup, I think an F-250.
Again, a marked police car?
His was not marked, but it also was equipped with a radio and lights.
If we could look at the next slide, slide F. So tell us what we're looking at here.
Slide F is the person taking the photo is standing just behind the gate looking in a northerly direction.
And in the distance, what are we going to come upon as we walk up this road?
As you go around the bend here, the defendant's home would be behind these trees, and as you continue up, the Anderson property would be up the hill.
We can see the next slide, slide G. I know it's obvious to all looking at this, but for the record, what are we looking at?
It's a close-up of the gate post and the locks and chain around it.
Do you know whether, in terms of opening that gate, when it was eventually opened that morning after the deputies responded
Whether it was opened with a lock or it was cut off, or do you recall?
It's my recollection that we cut it off, but I don't think I was present for that. I just overheard the conversation. That's my
Next slide.
recollection.
What was that?
That's my recollection.
Next slide, slide H. What are we looking at here?
This is a street sign showing the addresses of 1806 and 1910, and it's at the beginning of the fence, or the gate, I'm sorry.
Now, it says for both 1806 and 1910, 346 northeast. So does that tell us what the name of that gravel road is that comes up from the main road?
I think it shows their address. I don't know what I don't think the gravel road is marked. I could take a look at a map, but I don't know.
Next slide, slide I. Again, what are we looking at?
It's a close-up of the same street. You can see a posted no trespassing and address sign right there in the background.
And what's immediately behind the person who took this photograph?
Their back would be to the defendant's home.
Next slide, slide L. What are we looking at here?
This is the roadway leading up to Wade and Judy's home. As you described earlier in opening, this would be the path that Linda Teeley took to get up to that house.
Next slide. Slide M.
That's probably midway up the home. You can see some sheriff's office cars and then some other cars on the property. And in the background, I think that's the roof line of Wayne and Judy's.
Where would the garage be in this photograph?
The shop.
The shop, I'm sorry.
It'd be up the road around the corner and right behind these trees.
The next slide. Slide N. So orient us here.
The last photo was taken about from this perspective. And this is just a close-up of the cars, the outbuildings, the shop and such on the Wayne and Judy property.
If you could just, for the record, indicate with the laser where the shop is.
This is the shop.
And how about the main residence?
Right here.
And the storage shed be in the backyard.
Right there.
Next slide, slide O. What is this?
It's a photo taken from our helicopter. Almost in the center is the shop. To the right is the main residence. And then below are vehicles owned by the Andersons and at least one or two patrol cars.
Is this roughly the same orientation as the preceding slide that we had the drawing on?
It's a little closer up, but yes.
Next slide, slide P. Describe for the record what we're looking at here.
Slide P is the west side of the shop, right there, and is a little awning or tent out front and some vehicles.
And next slide. Is that Q? Is that Q? What's inside Q?
This is a photo of the front of the home. You can see their exposed porch, patrol car, and then one of the Andersons' cars.
As we look at the tree that's in front of the home to our right, what is the rooms inside the home that are in that corner?
This room?
Yes.
These two windows are in their living room.
And where's the dining room that we mentioned when we looked at the video?
It would be on this half of the building, and those two windows would be in the dining room.
Is the living room and are the living room and the dining room connected, or is there a wall between them, or what?
No, it's an open floor plan. They're kind of divided by furniture.
We can see the next slide. And tell us what slide R shows us.
It's a closer up shot of the home, looking at the front porch.
And on the right side of that building, then, would that be the living room again?
Yes, right over here.
Next slide. Slide S. Tell us for the record what that is.
It's, the photographer's kind of to the northeast of the home. This is the porch, the living room's over here, and I believe this is going to be what we call the craft room.
What do you mean by craft room? Why do you call it that?
I believe there's some crafts in there, and that's where Joe McEnroe initially had contact with Judy.
Next slide, slide C. Tell us what that is.
It's a view of the home looking in a somewhat westerly direction. This is the porch, and this is the little gate you go through to get up on the porch. The front door is going to be right there. Living room, craft room, bedroom.
And the next slide, slide U.
Now you're up onto the porch, and right here is the doorway.
A front door.
Yes, front door.
Next slide, slide V. What are we looking at in this slide?
Look at the west side of the home. There's a little trail that goes around to the backyard, kind of caused by the family dog. Living room, other side of the living room, and the far end would be the dining room.
And where's the storage shed from where we're looking here?
It would be around the corner, and if it'd be about this orientation, right? If you went right through the house.
Next slide. Slide W. What is that we're looking at?
This is the bullet hole. It went from inside to outside, and it's the set of windows that are encompass the dining room.
Can we go back this slide? And can you show us on this slide where the windows are that have that bullet hole?
Right here, the second set.
So the windows in the distance purposes of the record then?
Correct.
Farthest away from us.
Furthest away.
Okay, so next slide again, W. And can you identify then for the jury where the bullet hole is? The reason I ask is, do we know what that, whatever that is in the screen at the upper left is?
I don't. I assume it was a hole that they'd patched somehow to maintain the heat.
A hole in the screen or a hole in the window?
I don't know.
Now, I take it you went into this house quite a bit yourself?
Yes.
Let me ask you if you recall whether on the inside of the house, at the approximate location of the bullet hole in the window, whether there was any bullet hole through the fabric of the curtains.
As I sit here today, I don't know, but I know the question can be answered to the reconstruction. I know that's something we looked at. I just don't know the answer.
Slide X
It's a close-up of the bullet hole.
and slide Y. What are we looking at here?
This is the backyard. They're kind of focused on the back porch coming off the home. There's a little gazebo and a swing set in the background.
The bullet hole that we just saw in the window is approximately would be where in this photograph?
Would be over, if you extend it out over here.
And are we on the west side of the house here?
Yes.
Looking east?
Yes.
Is it fair to say then that the deck is on the south side of the house?
Correct.
Do you recall from having reviewed these photographs whether in the pictures of the storage shed that's in the backyard, whether a body of one of the victims is visible?
I don't know in these photos. I know that there are photos of it.
If we could see the next slide, then slide Z. So describe what we're looking at here.
In the foreground is the doghouse. In the background is the shed we've been talking about. The base of the shed is Wayne Anderson's body.
If we look at the next slide, which I think is double A, and describe for us just briefly what we're looking at here.
It's a close-up of the shed. This is the body of Wayne Anderson. For orientation, he's face down. There's his head. And he's been covered with kind of an astroturf type, indoor-outdoor type carpet. Through the open door here, you can just see the thigh of Judy Anderson inside the shed.
Can I ask you just briefly, what is her orientation inside the shed?
Her feet are to the door, and she's face up.
Face up. Next slide. And tell us what we're looking at here. On slide BB.
This is the backyard looking kind of in a northwesterly direction. Taken probably from the perspective of the spot of where the swing set was.
Is that the same doghouse that we saw in the earlier slide?
Correct. There's the doghouse and there's the porch.
And just for orientation, where would the storage shed be in this slide?
It would be, this is Detective Hoffenbecker here, so she would be looking at the storage shed right over there.
Next slide, slide CC. Again, tell us what we're looking at here.
This is the back of the home. It shows the rear door. There's the patio, the dog shed, and the other shed would be right over in this area.
The storage shed?
Yes.
Next slide. DD, what are we looking at in this photograph?
The photographer's standing in the backyard looking at the east side of the home. This is the master bedroom here, and then down the sidewalk you can see the shop in the background.
And is there that circular driveway then between the house and the shop in the background?
Well, yeah, you can't see the driveway, but you can see where the cars are parked just off the driveway.
And then the next slide? Slide, I think that's EE. Again, what are we looking at here?
The east side of the home, kind of the walkway between the house and the rockery here. Shops in the background, cars parked along the just off the driveway.
Can you tell, or do you recall from this photograph, that those cars were there prior to anybody from the sheriff's office arriving, or if any of those cars are police or law enforcement vehicles?
No, those are not our cars.
I think that might be the last slide. Let's check. Slide, I think it's double F. So orient us here as to what we're looking at from this aerial photograph.
Okay. This is an aerial photograph, mostly of the back of the home, showing the backyard. Here's the shed we've been talking about, the porch, shop, the turnaround driveway here, and then the cars that we just made reference to.
And the next slide? Slide double G.
Again, it's a close-up aerial of the back of the home, the doghouse, the back porch.
And where would the storage shed be in this photograph?
Just away from this tree, I believe, at the base of this tree.
And the next photograph? Next slide. Is that it?
That's it.
Joe, could you hit those lights?
Thank you. You mentioned, as you were telling us about the video. Thank you. You mentioned, as we looked at the video and as we looked at those slides, that there was that area as you go up the driveway off to the left, which is the defendant's residence.
Yes,
Do you recall the address of that residence?
1910.
And were you also able to review a video, excerpt from that earlier video of the defendant's residence?
I did.
Andrew, it's been marked for identification as Dizzy Exhibit number 3. I ask if you recognize that.
I do.
What do you recognize Exhibit 3 to be?
It's a DVD of the defendant's home that was taken as part of our investigation of these murders.
And have you had a chance to review that DVD?
I reviewed it the other day and I initialed the copy.
Is there an accurate representation of how the defendant's home appeared on December 26, 2007?
Yes.
You got to see what offer was been marked for identification as Dizzy Exhibit number 3.
Any objection to counsel?
No, no, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. It's admitted.
we could have the lights, thank you. Detective Tompkins, do you recall, looking at the date and times, this seemed to be an accurate date and time, December 26, 2007, 11:01, 53 seconds as to when this video was taken of the defendant's residence?
Yes, that's accurate.
Is it possible to pause it? Just before it went out of the shot there, you recognize either of those two cars or what type of cars they are?
I do. The one that just went out of the frame is an IROC,
Okay.
you know, and the other one is I believe a Datsun pickup of some sort.
Okay. What is an IROC?
I believe it's a type of or a package of the Camaro, Chevy Camaro.
Chevy Camaro?
That's my understanding. Yeah,
Any chance that do you know what IROC stands for?
I don't.
If we could continue. Do we pause it? As we look at this image at 11:02:09 in State's Exhibit 3, can you say, just for the record, state the obvious, what are we looking at the center of the photograph?
That's where the defendant lived with Joe McEnroe. That's the 1910 home.
What are we looking at that's on the right side of the image that's up on the screen?
This is a trailer that belonged to Wayne Anderson. It had some belongings from his mother inside.
And then that truck that's parked there, is that a police vehicle or someone else?
It's not. It's I believe a Chevy S10 pickup truck.
Okay. And then do you have any idea whose pickup truck that is?
I believe it's the defendant's.
We could continue. You describe for the jury then what we're looking at here at 11:02 and 47 seconds.
There's the IROC. There's the pickup. That outbuilding was a garage and a little bit of a lean-to on the side of the garage.
And the image that's being zoomed in on now, is that Wayne Anderson's trailer that you mentioned?
Yep, that's his license plate.
We could pause. The image that just went out of the photograph. Is it possible to go backwards, Michelle? Pause it right now. What is that that we're looking at that's on the left side of the screen?
This is a little lean-to attachment to the garage.
We could continue. Is that the Chevy IROC there in the distance?
In the background, yes.
We could pause it right. Now, there we go. This is what I was trying to point out, I apologize. What is it we're looking at now on the defendant's property?
This is an outdoor fire pit in the backyard of the defendant's home. I think
Did that eventually have any significance for purposes of the investigation?
yes, there was later some evidence found in that fire pit.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
There was later some evidence found in that fire pit.
Were you involved in the actual search for that evidence, or did you delegate that to someone else?
I was not involved. A couple other detectives did it.
We could continue. Pause this when you get a chance. Let me ask you, as we look at the images now, we're, for the record, at 11:06 and 19 seconds. The interior that we see of the defendant's home, the one she shared with Joseph McEnroe, as far as you know, has anything been changed here? And by that I mean, has a search warrant been served and so things are out of order or tossed about, or is this the way the interior looked?
At this stage, this is the way the interior looked. Nothing had been searched or gone through at this point, and we were simply taking video and still photography to document the condition in which we found it.
Second, Tom, can I ask you, as you were in this residence on the morning of December 26, 2007, can you describe for the jury the things that aren't evident in the video, such as was there an odor, was it hot, was it cold, what was the environment like, independent of the visual image?
There was a bit of an odor, like maybe food that had been left out too long, that type of a smell. Obviously there was a mold problem there, you could smell the mold in the house. It was cold, and I remember we all commented how cold it was, both on this day and when we went back out for other evidence searches.
When you say cold, in terms of as if it was the same temperature as outdoors, or
It felt
not quite as warm as
colder
it should?
inside that house than it did outside. And I remember talking about it to the other detectives and investigators who were there. Very strange.
If we could continue. Joe? Were you also able to view some photographs, some slides that are both consistent with this video and additional slides for purposes of your testimony?
Yes.
Man, you want to mark for identification as State's Exhibit number 4. Ask you to take a look through those slides, for those photographs, and tell us if you recognize what they are.
I do.
What do you recognize those slides to be?
These are photos of the defendant's home, her property around her home, and a diagram overall like we saw before.
Are these fair and accurate photographic representations of how the home and the surrounding area looked on December 26, 2007?
Yes.
You want to say what offer what's marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 4?
Any objection to 4?
No, thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you, 4 submitted.
For the record, I'll just state that the first slide we see is entitled 1910 House. Again, is at the address of the lower residence occupied by Michele Anderson and Joseph McEnroe.
Yes, it is.
Let me look at the next slide. This is slide A for the record, and again, tell us what it is we're looking at here. It looks like a similar slide to what we saw before.
It is. It's an overall diagram of the complete property that was prepared by our MAR unit for this case.
I'm sorry, it was prepared by whom?
Our MAR unit, Major Accident Response and Reconstruction.
Okay.
They are detectives assigned to the sheriff's office that investigate fatality accidents. But in doing so, they have this sort of surveying equipment that can map out an outdoor crime scene for us, so we call them quite a bit.
So we saw a video, we saw some photographs of the upper house, the 1806 residence. Orient us for with the lower house, the 1910 residences.
So this is the defendant's home and her property down in the lower corner here. This is the house, the shed, the trailer, the IROC, and the truck.
And the fire pit that we saw?
It's hard for me to tell, but it's going to be right back in this area. I think if it, possibly that, I can't tell from this distance.
We could see the next slide, please, slide B. Now orient us what we're looking at here.
It's an aerial shot of the defendant's home looking in a southerly direction. So here's the home, the garage, the trailer, the fire pit would be in this area right here.
And the IROC was parked approximately where?
Under the overhang here, or the garage area.
You could show us if the photograph went that far, the sort of the general direction where the main road is?
This is the intersection, so you take this road south back to the main road out in this area, and this road goes up to the out of the frame of the top to Wayne and Judy's home.
We can see the next slide, please. This is slide C. Point us for the record as to what we're looking at here.
This is a diagram of the defendant's overall property, showing her home, the garage, the trailer. Here's the fire pit. This was a little metal shed. It was to the side of the home.
And the path or the road to Judy and Wayne's house would be to the top?
Yes,
And then out to the main, back to the main road would be down to the lower right?
to the lower right, correct.
We can see the next slide. Slide B. Tell us what we're looking at here.
In this photograph, the photographer's standing kind of in that intersection that I've described, and they're looking in a northerly direction onto the property of the defendant. So here's her IROC, the truck, garage, trailer, and home.
Next slide. And again, tell us what this close-up shows.
F is a close-up of the car, the truck, and the garage.
And the next slide.
It's the opposite view of the garage with the cars in the background.
The next slide. Slide G.
It's kind of a lean-to attached to the garage. I believe there was some garbage in here and some older yard tools type things.
What is directly behind the photographer who took this photograph?
Their back would be to the defendant's home.
And the fire pit is located approximately where?
Off to the right, if you extend this out.
Next slide, which would be slide H.
This photograph in the center is the fire pit that we've been talking about.
Who's the fellow with the camera?
That's Detective Mike Brown, so he's the one that shot the earlier video that we saw.
And the next slide, slide I.
It's a view of the fire pit.
Next slide. Slide J, I think.
That's a close-up of the fire pit.
Can you tell, or do you know what appears to be the light substance that's on top of the fire pit?
I believe it's kitty litter or something close to that, something similar to that.
And the next slide, which is slide K.
It's a close-up of the fire pit.
And you said that detectives were tasked with actually sifting through this fire pit for evidentiary reasons?
Yes.
Next slide is slide L. What are we looking at here?
It's a close-up of the contents of the fire pit. Looks to be some melted cans and some paper.
Next slide. Slide M.
It's a kind of a perspective shot showing the fire pit in the foreground and the trailer and the truck in the background.
So are we looking sort of in the opposite direction that we have been?
Yes.
Is this the same sort of orientation that Detective Brown was in that earlier slide when he had the video camera on his shoulder? Sort of?
I think so, yeah.
Can we see the next slide, slide N? Describe for the record what we're looking at here.
It's like the photographer standing kind of in the middle of the backyard shooting the south end of the house. There's the metal shed in the background. This is a door we went in when we made our emergency entrance. Went in here, then came over and opened up the main door from inside.
You can see the next slide, slide O. And describe for the record what we're looking at here.
This would be I guess the front of the defendant's residence, showing both doors.
You mentioned that you made entrance through the door on the left.
Yes, we did.
Was that what you talked about, the exigent circumstances earlier?
Yes.
Why choose the door on the left without the staircase rather than the door on the right?
Although it was closed, it was unlocked. And so we were able to open that door, go in and open the locked main door from the inside.
And the next slide? Slide P. What are we looking at here?
Again, just a photo of showing both doors into the residence.
Slide Q.
It's a photo of the defendant's home with the front door in the center.
Slide R. Got it? Just for the record, there is no slide R. Joe? So as I understand it then, the videos that we've seen and the photographs of the walk up to 1806, the Wayne and Judy's home, those were taken on December 26, 2007?
Yes.
And the video and the photographs we've seen of the defendant's home, the 1910 home, were also taken on December 26, 2007?
Yes, they were.
So that's all happening on that morning, sometime after you arrived, and in the mid to late morning?
Correct. It's all happening once we get the search warrant, which is around 10 o'clock, somewhere in there, up until, I think it was a little after 11 on the video.
Okay. And at some point at about 11 o'clock, were you advised that there were some people who had arrived at the residence?
Yes, I was.
Or arrived at the property, excuse me?
Yes, they had contacted the deputy outside who was guarding the crime scene.
All right. I'm going to ask you some questions about that, but at another time.
Okay.
Let me just have a moment. Your Honor, those will be all the questions I have for the time being. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to interrupt Detective Tompkins' testimony for another witness.
That, or I don't know if Ms. O'Connor would like to chat with him now, or
I can wait, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, I can wait.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's what I assumed you were going to do. I appreciate you filling that void. Thank you.
Thank you.
Detective Tompkins, you can step down, and Mr. O'Toole, you want to call your next witness now or after the break?
Actually, I think we have to set something up for it, so maybe taking the break before we pace.
Okay, we'll just take it a little early then. So ladies and gentlemen, leave your notepads and pens there on the chairs. Again, don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or do any internet research of your life, and we'll see you back in about 15 minutes with the state's next witness. Thank you very much, folks.
Alcorn, who's a custodian of records for the 911 dispatch.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. So if I could ask everyone to remain for a moment while Ms. Anderson gets transported, then you're free to take the break. Thank you.